On the outskirts of a small provincial town called Greymouth stood a hill known as Black Peak. Its summit was crowned with the ruins of an ancient stone circle, which the locals avoided at all costs. They said that long ago, unknown gods were worshipped there, and at night, whispers could be heard in the surrounding woods, whispers no one could explain. A young woman named Emma, passionate about archaeology and history, arrived in Greymouth to conduct research. She had heard about Black Peak from the locals and was immediately intrigued. Ancient ruins shrouded in mystery were exactly the kind of discovery she sought. Only one thing unsettled her: the ominous warnings that accompanied every story about the hill. "Don't go there after sunset," the elders would say. But Emma was a skeptic. She dismissed their warnings as old superstitions. Soon, Emma began her research. She examined the ruins, took notes, and even found ancient stone tablets inscribed with strange symbols. The deeper she delved into her studies, the more she felt an inexplicable tension. It seemed as though someone, or something, was watching her. The creaking branches of the nearby trees whispered her name, or so she thought. One evening, as the sun was setting, Emma discovered an entrance to a tunnel beneath the stone circle. The ancient passage led down into the heart of the hill. Fear and excitement swirled within her. This could be the greatest discovery of her career. She descended into the tunnel, carrying only a flashlight and her notebook. Beneath the hill, she found a vast underground chamber, its walls covered in the same symbols as on the tablets. In the center of the room stood a stone altar, surrounded by skeletal remains, clearly human. Emma froze, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, her flashlight flickered and went out. The darkness was absolute. In the silence, sounds emerged. Whispers, footsteps, the grinding of stone. Emma fumbled with her flashlight, her hands trembling. When it finally flickered back to life, she realized she was not alone. Figures stood around her, barely visible, as though woven from the very shadows. "You've awakened us," one of them spoke, its voice echoing both in her mind and the air around her. Emma screamed and ran toward the tunnel, but the passage seemed to twist and shift. The walls closed in, and the way back became endless. The whispers grew louder, turning into a deafening chorus that pressed against her mind. Desperate, she stumbled back into the center of the chamber and fell to her knees before the altar. At that moment, the darkness consumed her. The figures closed in, and she felt something ancient and malevolent seep into her mind, filling it with terror and rage. Emma was no longer herself. Weeks passed. Greymouth grew quieter. The few remaining residents told of terrible screams coming from the hill at night. Then the disappearances began. The first to vanish was a farmer who went to check his fields at the foot of the hill. Then, children who played too close to the woods disappeared as well. No one knew what happened to Emma, but one night she was seen in the village. She stood at the far end of the street, motionless, her once bright eyes now hollow and black. Her face was pale, and her body seemed to emit a faint, dark glow. When one man dared to approach her, she raised her hand, and the darkness enveloped him. The next morning, his body was found at the edge of the village, disfigured as though something ancient and evil had burned him from within. A year later, Greymouth was no more than a ghost story. It was said that the town had been abandoned, and the hill overtaken by dense forest. But those who ventured too close claimed to see glowing figures in the night and hear whispers calling to them. They say Emma became part of something ancient that had dwelled beneath the hill long before humans arrived. She no longer belonged to herself, but perhaps she didn't resist it. After all, the darkness always takes those who approach it with open hearts, and it waits.